you should notice the crown of the Holy Roman Empire in the middle. And some of these other things, like the gloves and that big cross, they all look familiar, vaguely familiar. And there is a scepter, or rather, here we are on video number 9. And a few thoughts. Yes, I am taking on the Queen, because we had that mosaic egg, and there were things I just came about that I remembered that, after reviewing that locks me in on that. But nevertheless, let me share frustration with you. Now, I know a lot of people, and I can't blame them for not going the length of any single video, because it's really not designed so much for the people as it is for the people who can do something about this story. That's why I'm making these videos. If you've seen any or all of these videos, consider yourself fortunate, because it's really not meant to perpetuate any idea, unless it can happen in great numbers to drive those forces forward to uncover the truth. But let me tell you about frustration. The value of a good story is worth about $5 million. I've already explored this. And that's just for the story. It has nothing to do with royalties. But a great story, an unbelievable story, like this story, has tremendous amounts of profit potential. I think probably just as a story alone, it's probably worth, this unbelievable story, between probably $7.5 to $10 million. Now let's talk about, then we got royalties on top of that. And to write a book, don't expect me to write a book. I'm just providing the information. The publisher would, should this get to where I want while I'm still alive, they'll provide the co-author to put that together. Again, I provide the information. They do all the work. Now you say, well, what am I going to do with all this money? Yeah, there's a couple of things I'd like to have. You could call it self-indulgence. But let me tell you what makes this story so important that for me to get this out. You have to understand, I know this story is true. I know it's true. That's why I'm going about it the way I am, providing secrets about these things that nobody knows, unless you're a curator, you have it in your actual hand, and I'm giving you a description and you're going over it right there. The other thing that happened to me when I pursued this just a few months ago is I made a commitment. And that commitment, when I declared that and put it in my heart, the information fell out of the sky that led me through to find out everything that I have exposed so far is only about half of what I have to share with you. I don't even know how many videos I can make. I've already made some of the strongest points, declarations that anybody can ever make. I understand that. I'm the only one in the globe that's doing this, because I'm the only one that knows what went on. I want to create a foundation for today's wounded, a foundation that will be perpetual long after I'm gone. I mean a real foundation that will provide more than anything that has been done before on a terrific level. There's a lot of money here, and I plan on spending a lot of money to get this idea off the ground. This foundation isn't just going to stroke a check. Once you stroke a check, that's gone. That's not what this is about. I want to feed, I want to house, I want to employ the veterans. Employ them by having them manufacturing their own saleable items, quality items. Not just for people to buy stuff that just for a donation. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about quality stuff. And with a lot of money, a lot of things can be put together. I'm looking at creating a 4-season community for our wounded in an isolated area out in middle wonderful Pennsylvania somewhere. Gosh, having imagine 4 seasons, maybe even a couple of golf courses. Think about that. Our wounded are doing amazing things with some of the ambulatory problems that they have. And golf seems to be one of those remedies that recreations that remedies some of the problems. My frustration is developing is the time it takes to develop this idea, to get it moving, to bring forth that the beginning of this foundation. Because once our veterans understand that there's this foundation being developed, maybe they'll hold on just a little bit longer. Because when you look at the statistics of those who are taking their lives, today's through PTSD, you know, we're losing a lot of people. That's a frustration I'm going through. Is how long is it going to take before I get this thing off the ground so that we can save as many as we can? That's my frustration. And so I don't need any opinions unless you're a psychologist or a curator to help this move forward. This is true and correct as best I can put together. I don't know if correct is the right thing to say, but I know that the truth of the claims I'm making. There's no doubt about that. And that information is out there. It's just so darn old that I'm not sure where I'm going to have to go get that, but I've got one avenue to try. So it's just a matter of time. I'm just reading my notes here. It's just a matter of time that we get this thing off the ground. If any of you out there that have seen these videos think that you can help in some way to help bring this forward, I'd love to hear it. But for those who on a let's say on an educational sense of the word, because I put this also under education, because it is. We're going to rewrite history. But for those who've seen any or all of these videos, consider yourself fortunate, because this is the beginning. This is where it starts. This is where it starts moving forward. Some other things I like to say, but I don't think it's the right time. But nevertheless, this is where we're at. Now it's taken 10 minutes just to share this. There's only 20 minutes left to fill something in here. And I have another great thing to throw up here. That is for the people of Europe. Another great treasure. It's frustrating. But anyway, I'm going to review what we've done so far. One of those indulgences I already own. I have one of the finest Harley Davidsons that's ever been created. Now here's a humorous little story for you, or a fact. Now, when you ask somebody who has a nice Harley Davidson, or if you've met them, there's no finer Harley Davidson out there than theirs. Theirs is the best one. Not anybody else's. But no, theirs is not, mine is. You following me here? Okay. I've been fortunate in 7 seasons to put 46,000 miles in Pennsylvania, where we have real winters, so we can't ride all year long. Again, one of the finest Harley Davidsons that's ever been created. And there's a few people out there that have heard of me. I've been out there in the world. I have a 2007 Softail Springer Screaming Eagle. They only made 560 in the Amarillo Gold, the one that I have. And that was distributed around the world. Only 478 are in the United States, and 40 of those were sold in California. And thank you for that information, big guy that sent that on to me in our one special CVO thread there. I know about indulgence. And it is quite selfish, because to put 46,000 miles on a motorcycle in just that amount of time, that means you're not doing anything else, you're just riding. That's selfish. So hopefully I won't be too selfish down the road from here, because I think my riding days are pretty much coming to a close. And my son and I have talked about it a little bit, but that's indulgence. And so we'll continue with the story here. At some point of this whole project here, I'm going to be going under a voice stress analysis or polygraph. Wouldn't it be unique if I could take both of them at the same time? I do not fear that at all, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, I think the ultimate exposure on this, the way to do this with the greatest amount of impact, is to do this if I could do both of them at once and do it on a stage in front of hundreds, if not thousands of people, and have the conclusion or the analysis then at the end of this test be expressed to the people. Like I said previously, I don't think I can fail any of those tests because I know I'm speaking the truth, and not because I'm crazy. That isn't that. So therefore, wouldn't it be great if not only I'm taking the voice stress analysis and the polygraph test in front of thousands of people, wouldn't it be even greater if I was on TV doing that? So then hundreds, if not millions of people could see this. Well, wouldn't that be a wonderful thing if it would generate the money to do that, to help along with this foundation? There's just more ideas pouring into my head, but you see, I've already declared enough information that is so unbelievable. All I had to do was say Nefertiti. That's enough. But then the story, that's just one item. It's just the magnitude of that statement is what's so incredible. But that's one item. Remember, we had a lot of stuff. But anyway, that's where we're at. Check to see where we're at. This is called the Ghent altarpiece, and it dates back to around 1430, and it was completed by the younger and better known brother Jan van Eyck between 1430 and 1432. Is the older died in 1426. But I found some significant things here. I want you to look at this lamb. Right in the very center of this lamb, there's some paint removed, flaked off. this is a smaller, I don't know if that's a smaller picture or not, but I've got a lot to share here. It's taken a little bit of time to produce this because I ended up laying over some video that on top of video I already had. But there's a couple of things that really got locked in here, and one of the discoveries, one thing, led to another. When my brother and I handled the overall piece, as I believe it was assembled, our fingers got real dirty. Like soot is what was on this, and it says here that the panels still in Ghent were damaged by fire in 1822, and the separately hinged Adam and Eve panels sent to a museum in Brussels. The other thing I wanted to mention is on that sheep there was a couple of disturbing things about it. And that was the fact that where the blood is coming out of the chest of that sheep, that lamb, that was very disturbing to me as a little kid to see this, how matter-of-factly the blood is just pouring right out. I didn't know what to perceive, what that meant. But right in the middle of that lamb, you want to go look back and look at it, right in the middle of the body, right in the very center, between high and low and the sides, I flaked some paint off of that. And I can remember it was the one time my brother actually let me flake off a little bit. The paint was flaking anyway right there. And the thing I wanted to say is that lamb was painted over again. Because when I flaked some of that paint off, there was white paint underneath. And I think I had to flake a second layer off to get to the point of where I wanted to go. And there is paint flaked off in that region. There's another spot near there, a little down a little bit and over to the right. There's paint flaked off there too. And it shows, I think, the original, it may show the original image there, but that was another discovery. The fact that our fingers got real dirty handling this stuff from the soot was the only thing we had that ever got dirty like that. And where I flaked that paint off. Now you'll also see the other image that has the panels with looks like some religious figures and some angels. That's the back side. I also read where it said that there's a panel that was never returned. That is, it was removed. Well, I can remember the way we handled this stuff. It was very fragile. Some of it didn't have a backing to it. When you touched it to handle the end panels, well, you were touching the back side of the fabric. And if I remember right, we put our hands through and ripped it out of the edge of the framing. And it wouldn't be surprised if that eventually, over several handlings, that got damaged and may have been removed. Kind of thinking that. But nevertheless, I'm locked on to two things there, or several things, is how the lamb was bleeding. I'll show you, and the fact that my brother allowed me to flake a little bit of paint off, and the fact that there was paint underneath the paint, which means, and it says here, that it was completed by the younger. He painted over the original lamb. That's what that is. Anyways, another image I want to throw up here just for a second. If you look at that, go back and look at that, what appears to be the monuments men when they found the Ghent altarpiece there, that central portrait, that lamb. If you look at how tall that painting is, I can remember my brother had me standing there. I was on the right side holding it up, and that lamb seemed to come right about this high to me, so it was straight across, and that's when I had peeled that paint off. That's about the right proportion. I can't remember whether we had that. I kind of remember that whole thing was all together. And I remember it was so flimsy, it would fold over. And one time we had a real slap of collision on that. Luckily, nothing really got damaged, other than, unfortunately, it sounds like a panel was removed. Yeah, we had this, and I had said that by maybe a low estimate $2 billion worth of goods. Well, if you take some of the great paintings by the masters that have sold for well over $100 million. Well, if you ask Germany what they think Nefertiti is worth, I would think $500 million is probably in line. Well, the Ghent altarpiece to the Belgian people, I'm sure, is just as important to them as the Bust of Nefertiti is to Germany. And if Egypt got Nefertiti back, or let's say if they bought Nefertiti, let's say there was a price tag, well, if they bought it for $500 million, which they could probably do with the great gold reserves they probably have somewhere, they'd probably think it was worth twice that. So there is, and then you take, and I'm thinking a dozen Faberge eggs and possibly another half to a dozen. And what is the crown worth? What's the Russian crown jewels? Add them all up. They're priceless, obviously. But when you put all these together, the stuff that we had, it's tremendous. Let's see what we've got coming up on, see how much time we've got. Well, unfortunately, this completes video 9. I lost some stuff in here, and I want to say so much, and sometimes I get limited with the stuff I put up here, and sometimes the dialogue I use is not as good as I'd like to, because I feel stressed and confined, and I find so many words I can't stick in there in an amount of time. But nevertheless, we're coming up on close to that half hour. I can't see putting anything else in here right now, so this will conclude number 9. Don't forget to turn your sound down, and thanks for your time.